September
You are the
1692,
one who did
Boston.
this.
The
I
courtroom
have done
stinks of wet wool
nothing
and
wrong.
fear.
Lies!
60
You are
faces packed into
guilty!
benches
Prove
meant for
it.
30. Every breath visible in the autumn cold. At the center of it all stands a man who should not be here. Captain John Alden is 66 years old. His hands have gripped ship wheels through Atlantic storms. His eyes have watched men die on frozen battlefields. He has sailed from
The
Barbados
framework is
to Halifax.
unsound. It will
He
collapse.
has negotiated
Nonsense.
with French
The calculations
commanders
are
and
precise.
Wabanaki war chiefs.
Precision is not
He
enough.
is the
It
son
will
of a
hold.
Mayflower pilgrim.
We
His name
demand
carries weight across
justice.
3
Release
colonies.
us. Your
And now
case
he
is
stands
under
accused
review.
of flying
Be
through the
silent.
night on invisible wings to torment children in their
This
beds.
passage confirms
Chief
it.
Justice
the
William
alignment is
Stoughton
tonight.
reads the charges.
Then we have no
His
choice.
voice carries the
We must
certainty
act.
of a man
I
who
will
has
summon
never
the
doubted
others.
himself. Witchcraft, conspiracy with Satan, commerce with evil spirits, tormenting the innocent through spectral projection.
Honorable
In
members,
the
the
front
time
row,
for
3
action
girls
is
writhe
now.
and scream.
We must
Their
unite
bodies
and pass
twist into
this
shapes that seem
legislation
impossible.
for the future of
They
our
point at
nation.
Alden with shaking fingers.
Watch how
Their
I form
voices
the
rise in
letters,
chorus.
child.
His specter
Yes,
attacks
I
them.
see.
Right now, in this
you
very
try.
room.
Like
Can you
this.
not see it? Can you not see the devil's servant at work? Alden looks at them. He does not flinch. He does not rage. His voice when it comes is steady as a ship's hull. There are persons who accuse me of being a wizard. You who are ministers and men of learning, can you see it? Look at me. Here stands my flesh. Here is my accuser. Let her witness if she saw me at the village when she claims my spirit flew. The girl's screaming reaches a pitch that makes dogs howl outside. She falls to the floor. Her body jerks. Blood appears at the corner of her mouth. Whether she bit her own tongue or someone pinched her lip, Alden cannot tell from where he stands. Stoughton slams his hand on the bench. The accused will be silent. The court has heard enough. Captain Alden will be held in Boston jail to await trial before this tribunal. May God have mercy on his soul if he continues in his stubborn denial. Guards move forward. Iron shackles close around wrists that have hauled anchor chains. The crowd murmurs. Some faces show satisfaction. Others show fear. If Captain Alden can be a witch, anyone can be a witch. As they lead him toward the door, Alden turns back one last time. His eyes find Stoughton. His voice carries across the sudden silence. If this is justice, then justice itself stands on trial. The doors close. The crowd erupts in argument, and somewhere in the chaos a question forms that will not let go. How did we arrive at this moment 5 months earlier? May 1692. Alden's ship cuts through morning fog into Boston Harbor. The crew is exhausted. 2 months of coastal raids, burning French settlements, skirmishing with Wabanaki warriors. They lost 4 men at Pemaquid, 3 more to fever on the voyage back. War grinds men into dust, whether they die quickly or slowly. The docks are strangely quiet. Usually merchants swarm returning vessels. Today the waterfront feels emptied. Alden finds his business partner waiting with a horse and a warning. Do not go to Salem Village. The madness there has spread beyond all reason. What madness witches, or so they claim. The magistrates have arrested 30 people, maybe more. They examine them in the meeting house like common criminals. The girls who accuse them perform fits that would shame a theater troupe. Alden has heard of witch trials before. Every colony has them from time to time. Usually they end quickly. Some old woman who cursed a neighbor gets questioned and released. Occasionally someone gets whipped or fined. He has never heard of 30 arrests. I need to see this myself. His partner grabs his arm. John, listen to me. They hanged Bridget Bishop 3 days ago. This is not rumor or hysteria. They built a gallows. They used it. This is real. The words hit like a musket ball. Hanged in Massachusetts for witchcraft. The colony that prided itself on English law and Puritan restraint has started executing its own people based on accusations of invisible crimes. Alden rides for Salem Village that afternoon. The meeting house sits on a ridge overlooking scattered farms. Alden arrives as the afternoon examination begins. The building is packed. People crane from windows. Children sit in the rafters. The air inside is close and hot despite the spring weather. At the front, 2 magistrates sit behind a crude table. John Hathorne and Jonathan Corwin. Both wealthy, both respected. Neither trained in law beyond their local appointments. Before them stands a woman, Martha Carrier, age 43, wife of a farmer, mother of 4. Her face is pale, but her spine is straight. Hathorn leans forward. His voice is not that of a judge seeking truth. It is the voice of a prosecutor who has already decided. Martha Carrier, you stand before God and this court accused of witchcraft. Why do you torment these children? I torment nobody. I am falsely accused. From the front benches, girls begin to moan. Their sounds build like wind before a storm. One falls from her seat, another claws at her own arms. A third points at Carrier and shrieks. She does it now. Her specter chokes me. I cannot breathe. The girl's face reddens. Her hands clutch her throat. To those watching, it appears she is being strangled by invisible fingers. Hathorn does not ask if this is real. He accepts it as fact and builds from there. You see what you do to them. Will you not confess and spare these innocents I see children performing? Nothing more. The room erupts. Hathorn pounds for silence. The examination continues for 2 hours. Every denial from Carrier is met with fresh fits from the girls. Every gesture she makes they mimic and claim causes them pain. When she shifts her weight, they cry that her specter kicks them. When she bites her lip in frustration, they display marks and scream that invisible teeth have wounded them. Alden watches it all from the back. His military mind catalogs what he sees. The girls watch each other. When one begins a fit, the others follow. Their screams synchronize. Their movements echo. This is not random possession. This is coordination. And the magistrates encourage it. Hathorn asks the girls questions mid-examination. Who torments you now? Where does the specter stand? The girls point. The crowd gasps. The accused woman's every movement becomes evidence of her guilt. After 2 hours, Carrier is ordered held for trial. As guards lead her out, she turns to the packed room. You will all have cause to remember this day. When you realize what you have done here, the shame will follow you to your graves. The crowd hisses. Someone throws a rotten apple. It hits her shoulder. She does not flinch. The doors close behind her. Alden pushes his way outside. The fresh air feels like redemption after the stifling room. A man stands near the horses. Thomas Putnam. Alden has known him for 20 years. They served together in King Philip's War. Putnam's farm lies on the western edge of the village. Thomas, a word. Putnam turns. His face lights up. John Alden. We heard you were on the coast. How goes the war? Poorly. We are losing ground faster than we take it. But I did not come to discuss strategy. What in God's name is happening here? Putnam's expression shifts. The warmth drains. What you just witnessed is the Lord's work. We are rooting out Satan's conspiracy. By accusing good wives of flying through the night, Putnam steps closer. His voice drops. You have been away. You have not seen what we have seen. The war goes badly because we are cursed. Our crops fail. Our children sicken. Our soldiers die. This is not chance, John. This is witchcraft. These women have sold themselves to the devil, and in exchange, they sabotage our godly community. Alden studies his old comrade's face. Putnam believes every word he is saying. The conviction radiates from him like heat from a forge. And who decides which women have made this bargain? The afflicted children. They have the sight. They see the specters that torment them. Children who perform on command. Thomas the First to watch those girls. They coordinate their fits like soldiers following signals. Putnam's jaw tightens. You would call them liars. I would call them young people who have discovered that their accusations carry enormous power. And I would call their elders fools for giving children that power. The words hang between them. Putnam's hand moves to his belt where a knife usually sits. It is not there. They are standing in front of the meeting house. But the impulse to violence was real. You should guard your tongue, John. Speaking against these proceedings puts you in dangerous company. Is that a threat? It is a warning from a friend. There are those who would interpret skepticism as evidence of guilt. After all, who would defend witches except those in league with them? Alden holds Putnam's gaze for a long moment. Then he mounts his horse. Before he rides away, he speaks one last time. I have fought beside you, Thomas. I know you to be a brave man and a loyal soldier. But what I saw in that room today was not bravery, and it was not loyalty to anything but fear. When you come to your senses, you will remember I said this. He rides toward Boston. Behind him, the village settles into evening. Smoke rises from chimneys. Somewhere a baby cries. The ordinary sounds of ordinary life. And underneath it all, the rot spreads. June 10th, 17 days later. Alden stands at the edge of a crowd on a barren ridge above Salem. Carpenters have built a scaffold here. Fresh wood. The smell of pine sap still strong. A single beam extends over empty air. From it hangs a rope. Bridget Bishop climbs the ladder. She is 60 years old. She wears a red bodice that made her neighbors whisper even before the accusations. She has been loud all her life, sharp-tongued, defiant. She ran a tavern where men drank and played shuffleboard. She dressed in colors when others wore black. She laughed when others frowned. For these crimes and others invented in the fevered imaginations of teenage girls, she will die. A minister stands beside the scaffold. Nicholas Noyes. He holds a Bible, but his words are his own. He calls on her to confess, to admit her compact with Satan, to name her fellow conspirators. He promises that confession will save her soul, even if it cannot save her body. Bishop's voice carries across the crowd. I am no witch. I am innocent. I know nothing of witchcraft. Then God have mercy on you, for we cannot. The noose goes around her neck. The hangman checks the knot. The crowd falls silent. Even the children stop their noise. This is the moment. This is the boundary. Once she drops, there is no going back. The trap opens. The body falls. The rope snaps taut. The sound it makes is not loud, but it carries. A crack like a tree branch breaking, then creaking, the rope swinging, the body's weight settling. Alden watches it all. He forces himself to watch. This is what Salem has built. This is what spectral evidence produces. A woman dead because girls claim to see her invisible spirit performing impossible acts. The crowd begins to disperse. Some faces show satisfaction. The devil's servant has been punished. Others show uncertainty. Some weep quietly. A few look sick. Alden approaches a group of ministers standing near the scaffold. Cotton Mather is among them. Young, brilliant, ambitious. The son of Increase Mather and grandson of John Cotton. He carries the weight of Puritan aristocracy in his bearing. Reverend Mather, a word about the proceedings. Mather turns. His expression is guarded. Captain Alden, you honor us with your presence. Though I confess I did not expect to see you here, I came to witness what has been done in the name of justice. What has been done is necessary. Satan has infiltrated our godly community. We must root him out by any means required, including hanging women on the testimony of invisible specters. Mather's eyes narrow. The court examined extensive evidence, the afflicted children's testimony, the finding of poppets with pins, the suspect's inability to recite the Lord's Prayer correctly under stress. All of this points to guilt. All of this points to fear and superstition. You hanged her on evidence that would not convict a pickpocket in England. We are not in England. We are building a new Jerusalem in the wilderness. That requires new vigilance. It requires law, not theater. What I saw in that examination room was not the pursuit of truth. It was the manufacture of confession through intimidation. Other ministers are gathering now. The conversation is attracting attention. Mather's voice rises. You presume to lecture us on godliness, you who spend more time in taverns and on warships than in meeting houses. I presume to lecture you on evidence and reason. I have commanded men in battle. I know what happens when fear replaces discipline. Soldiers who shoot at shadows kill their own comrades. You are shooting at shadows and you are killing your own people. The dispersing crowd stops. People turn back. Watch. This is not the kind of confrontation that happens in public, not between men of status. Mather draws himself up. His voice takes on the cadence of the pulpit. The court acts with the authority of the governor and the blessing of God. If you question its proceedings, you question both. Then I question both. And I will continue to question them until someone shows me evidence that would stand up in an English court of law. He turns and walks away. Behind him, the murmurs begin. Did you hear what he said? Captain Alden spoke against the trials. Captain Alden defended the witch. Captain Alden must be one of them. The seeds are planted. They will grow faster than he knows. July 19th. 5 weeks later. Alden does not attend the next execution. He reads about it in Boston. 5 women this time. Rebecca Nurse, Sarah Good, Susanna Martin, Elizabeth Howe, Sarah Wilds, all hanged on the same scaffold where Bridget Bishop died. The news about Rebecca Nurse hits him hardest. He knew her. Not well, but enough. She was 70 years old, a church member for decades, a grandmother. 40 neighbors signed a petition defending her character. The jury initially found her not guilty. Then the judges intervened. They questioned the jury about a confusing statement she had made. Nurse was hard of hearing. She did not understand the question when they asked her to clarify. Her silence was taken as evidence of guilt. The jury reversed its verdict. If Rebecca Nurse could hang, anyone could hang. Alden writes a letter to Governor William Phipps. He details what he has witnessed, the leading questions, the theatrical performances, the absence of physical evidence, the reliance on spectral testimony that would be laughed out of any English court. He points out that the trials are destroying property rights and creating an atmosphere of terror that serves no one except those with grudges to settle. He sends a letter by private courier. He does not know if it reaches Phipps. He receives no reply. 2 weeks later, he receives a visitor. Increase Mather arrives at Alden's Boston home on a Tuesday evening. The elder Mather is 53, president of Harvard College, the most respected minister in New England. He has been in England for 3 years negotiating a new charter for Massachusetts. He returned to find the witch trials in full fury. Captain Alden, thank you for receiving me. Reverend Taylor, I am honored, though I confess I am surprised, as am I. Surprised at the state of our colony, surprised at what has transpired in my absence. They sit in Alden's study. A servant brings wine. Mather drinks sparingly but accepts the hospitality. I have read your letter to the governor. He showed it to me. I find myself in agreement with much of what you wrote. Alden sets down his cup. You do, I do. The use of spectral evidence troubles me greatly. I have studied the question extensively, in scripture and in the writings of learned men. I am convinced that the devil can appear in the shape of an innocent person. He can do this for the very purpose of causing innocent blood to be shed. Then the girl's testimony means nothing. If Satan can impersonate the godly, then seeing someone's specter proves nothing about that person's guilt. Precisely. This is the argument I am making to my colleagues. But I must make it carefully. The court believes it is doing God's work. To challenge them directly would be to invite accusation myself. So you will do what write treatises while they hang more people. Mather meets his eyes. There is steel behind the scholarly demeanor. I will do what I can do. I will marshal arguments and precedents. I will convince the other ministers. I will create pressure for change through proper channels. What I will not do is make a public spectacle that accomplishes nothing except my own destruction. And in the meantime, how many more die, I do not know. But I know this, you have already made yourself a target. Your confrontation with my son was witnessed by dozens. Your letter to the governor was noted. If you continue to speak out, you will be accused. Let them accuse me. I am not afraid of their theater. You should be. They have already hanged a minister. George Burroughs will die next month. He is learned. He is eloquent. He served this community. None of it will save him. If they can hang a minister, they can hang a sea captain. Then I will be hanged, but I will not be silent. Mather stands. He is shorter than Alden, but carries himself with absolute authority. Bravery and foolishness often look the same from the outside. I hope you live to learn the difference. He leaves. Alden sits alone in his study. The summer evening fades to darkness. Somewhere in Salem, prisoners wait in chains. Somewhere girls are practicing their fits. Somewhere judges are reviewing cases and ordering more arrests. The machine is running. It will not stop until someone stops it. August 19th, 4 weeks later. Alden goes to this execution. He must. George Burroughs climbs the scaffold. He is 42 years old. He served as minister of Salem Village years ago. He left after conflicts with the Putnam family over salary and firewood. He tried to build a life in Maine that are gone. The accusation found him anyway. The girls claimed his specter was the ringleader, the dark man at the center of the witch conspiracy. They said he possessed supernatural strength, that he could lift impossible weights, that he presided over satanic Sabbaths in the forest. Burroughs stands before the crowd with his hands bound. Noise again demands confession. Again promises that the truth will set him free, even as the rope waits to take his life. Burroughs speaks instead the Lord's Prayer, from beginning to end, every word perfect. No stumbles, no mistakes. The crowd stirs. They have been told that witches cannot recite the Lord's Prayer. It is one of the tests. The holy words will choke them or twist in their mouths. Yet here stands the accused ringleader of Satan's conspiracy reciting the most sacred prayer in Christianity without error. People begin to call out, "Stop the execution. He cannot be a witch. He proved his innocence. Let him down." For a moment it seems possible. The hangman hesitates. The magistrates confer. The crowd's voice grows louder. Then a horse pushes through the press of bodies. Cotton Mather sits in the saddle. He raises his hand for silence. His voice carries the certainty of divine authority. Brothers and sisters, do not be deceived. Satan himself can appear as an angel of light. He can give his servants the ability to mouth holy words for the very purpose of tricking the godly into doubt. This man was lawfully tried and convicted. The court's judgment must stand. The moment breaks. The crowd subsides. The hangman moves forward. The noose tightens. The trap opens. George Burroughs dies with the Lord's Prayer on his lips. Alden watches Cotton Mather ride away. He feels something shift inside himself. This is not a disagreement about theology. This is not a debate about evidence. This is tyranny wearing the mask of godliness. He begins to plan. September, 3 weeks later. The accusation comes on a Tuesday. Alden is in Boston reviewing shipping manifests when 2 constables arrive. They carry a warrant sworn out by the afflicted girls of Salem Village. They name Captain John Alden as a wizard. They claim his specter has attended Sabbaths. They say he recruits witches from among Boston's merchant class. Alden reads the warrant. The language is identical to dozens of others. Only his name has changed. "I will come voluntarily. There is no need for restraints." "The court demands it, Captain." "We are sorry." The shackles close. Alden has worn manacles before. During his one disastrous trading voyage to the Caribbean, pirates took his ship. He spent 2 months in chains before ransom arrived. He knows how to carry the weight. They bring him to Salem Village the next morning. The meeting house is packed again. The same magistrates, the same afflicted girls, a different accused man standing where Martha Carrier stood, where Rebecca Nurse stood, where Burroughs stood. Hathorne reads the charges. Before he can finish, the girls begin their performance. They scream, they writhe, they point at Alden with trembling fingers. One falls from her bench. Another claws at her own face. The smallest one shrieks that his specter has just stabbed her with an invisible pin. Hathorne leans forward. The trap is set. "Why do you torment these children?" Alden does not take the bait. "I torment no one. I stand here in flesh and blood. What these girls claim to see exists only in their imaginations. You dare call them liars. I dare call
You
this
are the
entire
one who
proceeding
did
a
this.
mockery of justice.
I have done
English law
nothing wrong.
requires evidence.
Lies! You
Physical
are guilty!
evidence. Two
Prove it.
witnesses to overt acts. You have neither. You have only the fantasies of children who have learned that their accusations bring them power and attention. The crowd erupts. Hathorne pounds his table. The girls scream louder. One produces blood from somewhere and displays it as proof of his spectral assault.
The
Alden
framework
raises
is
his voice
unsound.
over the
It will
chaos.
collapse.
I have a
Nonsense. The
proposal.
calculations are
Let
precise.
these girls
Precision
identify
is not
me
enough.
without being
It will
told my name.
hold.
Let them pick me from
We
among a group of
demand
men my age
justice.
and build.
Release us.
If their sight
Your
is
case
truly
is
divine,
under
this should
review.
present
Be
no difficulty.
silent.
Hathorne hesitates. The
This
request is
passage
reasonable.
confirms it.
Alden
The alignment
presses.
is tonight.
You claim these
Then we
children
have
see
no
spiritual
choice.
truth
We
invisible
must
to
act.
others.
I will
Prove
summon
it.
the others.
Let them demonstrate their gift under controlled conditions. The magistrate confers with Corwin. They whisper. The crowd waits. Finally, Hathorne speaks.
Honorable members, the
This court
time
does
for
not
action
require
is
proof
now.
of what is
We
already
must unite
established.
and pass
The
this
afflicted have
legislation
identified
for
you.
the future
That
of
is
our
sufficient.
nation.
Sufficient for what I demand
Watch
to know
how
my
I
accusers.
form the letters,
I demand to
child.
face witnesses to
Yes,
my
I
alleged
see.
crimes. I
Now
demand the
you
rights of an
try.
Englishman
Like
under
this.
English law. You demand much for one who conspires with the devil. I demand only what is owed to any subject of the crown. Or have we decided that Massachusetts is no longer bound by the principles our fathers fought to preserve Silence Falls? Alden has said the dangerous thing. He has accused the court itself of tyranny, of abandoning the very English liberties that the Puritan founders claimed to protect. Stoughton speaks for the first time. His voice is cold. Your prideful denial is itself evidence of guilt. A godly man would humble himself before this tribunal. He would confess his sins and beg mercy. Your arrogance proves you are in the devil's grip. My arrogance proves I will not confess to lies to satisfy your bloodlust. I have fought French Catholics and Wabanaki warriors. I have sailed through hurricanes and survived ship battles. I will not be cowed by children's theater and judicial corruption. The words are barely out before the guards move. They drag him toward the door. The girls scream louder. The crowd roars. As they push him outside, Alden turns back one last time. I will not confess. Try me if you dare. Let us see if your spectral evidence survives scrutiny in a proper court of law. The doors slam. The examination is over. Captain John Alden is committed to Boston jail to await trial before the court of Oyer and Terminer. As they load him into the wagon, a man approaches. John Floyd, another sea captain, another accused witch. They got you too, John. They did. But this is not over. What can we do? We are in chains. Alden looks at the jail wagon, at the constables, at the road leading away from Salem Village, at the whole apparatus of accusation and imprisonment that has ground up dozens of lives. We survive. We wait. And when the moment comes, we act. The wagon rolls toward Boston. Behind them, Salem Village returns to its ordinary evening. Mothers call children home for supper. Men stable their horses. The meeting house empties. Tomorrow there will be more examinations, more accusations, more arrests. The machine runs on. Boston jail squats on prison lane like a diseased tooth. Stone walls 2 feet thick. Windows barely wide enough for a man's fist. The air inside carries the smell of unwashed bodies and human waste. No heat except what prisoners generate themselves. No light except what filters through the narrow slits. This is where Massachusetts keeps those awaiting trial. Alden arrives in chains. The jailer is a man named Arnold. He has grown rich on this crisis. Prisoners must pay for their keep. Bread and water cost money. A blanket costs money. The removal of shackles costs money. Everything has a price, and Arnold sets the rates. You will be housed with the other witches. Cell 3. Alden hands over coins for basic provisions. Arnold weighs them, finds them acceptable, and leads the way deeper into the building. Cell 3 holds 11 people, men and women crowded together in a space meant for 4. The smell hits Alden like a fist. The door closes behind him with a sound of finality. A woman sits in the corner farthest from the slop bucket. She is perhaps 60. Her dress was once fine, but now is filthy. Her hair is white. Her back is straight, despite the circumstances. She looks up as Alden enters. Captain Alden, I know your name. I am Mary Easty. Mistress Easty, I have heard of you as well. Then you know they released me once. The judges examined me and found me innocent. I went home to my family. 3 days later, the girls cried out again. They said my specter came to them and threatened them for speaking truth. The magistrates arrested me again. This time there will be no release. Her voice carries no self-pity, only a quiet certainty. She has seen how this ends. You accept this, I accept that I cannot change it. The court believes the girls feed on attention, and there are those who find it convenient to remove their neighbors through accusations. I am the sister of Rebecca Nurse. Our family owns good land. There are those who would profit from our destruction. Another prisoner speaks up. John Willard. He was a constable once. They sent him to arrest accused witches. After a while, he refused. He said he could not continue to participate in obvious injustice. A week later, the girls accused him. The patterns emerge. Former supporters who grow skeptical become targets. Wealthy families with disputed land claims find themselves in chains. Anyone who questions the proceedings openly soon finds themselves answering the same questions. Alden settles against the wall. His military training helps. He has slept in worse places. Frozen forts, storm-tossed ships. The floor of a Massachusetts jail is merely uncomfortable. Over the following days, he learns the rhythms of imprisonment. Morning gruel, long hours of waiting, evening gruel, the sounds of other prisoners. Some weep, some pray, some rage against their fate. Some sit in silence, broken by fear and isolation. The jailer Arnold makes regular rounds offering deals. Confess and you will live. Confess and name others, and you will have better food. Confess and your family will not lose your property. Some accept. Alden hears them through the walls, their voices cracking as they admit to impossible crimes. Flying to Sabbaths, signing the devil's book, tormenting children. Each confession buys temporary safety but eternal shame. Olden refuses every approach. Arnold shrugs. Your choice, Captain. But you should know the court has never acquitted anyone who maintained their innocence. The path out of this cell runs through confession. Then I will stay in this cell. Arnold laughs. Suit yourself. I am paid either way. September 16th. 2 weeks after Alden's arrest, the jail fills with news. Giles Corey will be pressed today. The old farmer has refused to enter a plea. Without a plea, there can be no trial. Without a trial, the court cannot convict him. Without a conviction, the state cannot seize his property. English law has a solution to this defiance. Peine forte et dure, strong and hard punishment. In practice, it means torture designed to force a plea. They bring Corey to a field near the jail. Guards clear a space, place him on the ground, lay a board across his chest, begin adding stones. Alden cannot see it, but he can hear the crowd gathering. He can hear the announcements. He can hear faintly the sound of Corey's breathing as the weight increases. Mary Easty kneels in prayer. John Willard paces the cell. Others press against the walls, trying to hear what is happening outside. Hours pass. Arnold arrives with the midday meal. His face is flushed with excitement. The old man still will not speak. They have added 200 pounds of stone. He curses them and demands more weight. He is 81 years old and stubborn as the devil himself. Though I suppose that is what they are counting on. Break his stubbornness and he will confess everything. Or he will die. Arnold shrugs. That is the point. Either way, the court wins. The afternoon wears on. The sounds from outside change. The crowd grows quieter. The official announcements stop. There is only the occasional murmur and the creak of stones being repositioned. Evening comes. Arnold returns. This time his face is pale. It is done. Corey is dead. They say his last words were to demand more weight. He never entered a plea. His farm passes to his sons. The state gets nothing. The cell is silent. Even the prisoners who have been weeping all day find no tears for this. Giles Corey has done something none of them could manage. He has defeated the system through sheer refusal to participate. Alden sits in the darkness and thinks. Corey was right. The system requires cooperation. Arrests require suspects who can be dragged to court. Trials require pleas. Confessions require broken spirits. Every part of the machine depends on people doing what they are told. What happens if enough people refuse? The idea grows. Alden has commanded men who faced impossible odds. He knows that morale is not built on false hope. It is built on small acts of defiance that prove the enemy is not invincible. The next morning, he speaks to the other prisoners. Giles Corey showed us something yesterday. He showed us that we have more power than they want us to believe. Every time we confess to lies, we strengthen their system. Every time we name others to save ourselves, we feed the machine. What if we stopped cooperating? A man across the cell shakes his head. Easy for you to say, Captain. You are a man of means. You can afford Arnold's prices. Some of us cannot even buy bread. Our families are starving because we are here. Alden reaches into his shirt. He has sewn coins into the lining, enough to last months if needed. He pulls out several and hands them to Arnold on his next round. This is for the provisions of anyone in cell 3 who cannot pay. See that they eat. Arnold weighs the coins. He nods. As you wish, Captain, though you are buying mercy for those who may well be guilty. Then I am buying mercy for the innocent who have no other defender. Word spreads through the jail. Captain Alden is paying for prisoners' keep. Not just in his cell, in other cells too. Anyone who maintains their innocence. Anyone who refuses to confess. Anyone who will not feed the machine. It is not enough to free them, but it is enough to let them survive with some dignity. 3 days later, opportunity arrives in an unexpected form. Arnold enters the cell late at night. His manner is different, furtive. He gestures to Alden. Come, quietly. Alden follows him down the corridor. They pass other cells. Other prisoners watch through the bars. Arnold leads him to a small office. 3 men wait there. Merchants. Alden knows 2 of them. They are business associates, men he has traded with for years. Captain Alden. We have paid Arnold a substantial sum for this conversation. We do not have long. What is this about? You have friends, John, friends who believe this madness has gone too far, friends who have the means to help you. Help me how Arnold is willing to look the other way for one night. There is a horse waiting 3 streets over. You can be in Duxbury by morning. From there you can disappear into the countryside. Escape. They are offering him escape. And what happens to the others, the prisoners who cannot pay for Arnold's blindness? The merchant shakes his head. We can help you, John. We cannot help everyone. Alden looks at Arnold. The jailer's face is carefully neutral. He is being paid by both sides. He will facilitate whatever serves his interests. If I run, I prove their accusations correct. I become evidence that the skeptics are guilty. If you stay, you will hang. They have never acquitted anyone who maintained innocence. You know this. He does know it. Every trial has ended the same way. Confession brings life. Denial brings death. The system is rigged from the start. But running means abandoning Mary Eastie. John Willard. All the others who have no means of escape. It means admitting defeat. Then again, staying means dying in chains. It means silencing the one voice that might challenge the system from outside its walls. Walden makes his choice. I will go, but I need something first. I need names. Every family of the executed, every person who signed petitions that the court ignored. I need evidence. The merchants exchange glances. What will you do with this? Build a case. Not in their court, in the court of public opinion, in Boston, in England, if necessary. I will document every abuse, every ignored petition, every reversed verdict. I will show the world what Salem has become. And you think this will help? I think it is the only chance we have. Giles Corey showed us that defiance has power. Now I will show them that truth has power too. They provide papers, addresses, names. Alden memorizes what he can and hides the rest. 2 hours later, he walks out of Boston jail a free man. Arnold reports the next morning that the prisoner must have picked the lock somehow. Very clever, these witches. The hunt begins immediately, but Alden is already gone. Duxbury sits 30 miles south of Boston. Alden's family has roots here going back to the Mayflower. His father helped found the town. The people here owe the Alden name. He arrives before dawn and goes immediately to his cousin's house. Within hours, word spreads. Captain Alden has escaped. He needs shelter. He needs supplies. He needs information. The town closes ranks. No one has seen him. No one knows where he went. The constables from Boston find doors closed and memories suddenly cloudy. While they search, Alden works. He begins with the Nurse family. Rebecca Nurse's sons live in Salem. Her daughters married men from nearby towns. He rides to each in turn, always at night, always carefully. The Nurse sons show him the petition. 39 signatures. People who testified to Rebecca's godly character. The court did not allow it as evidence. Hathorne said that spectral evidence outweighed human testimony. Do you have the original? We do. With all the signatures, I need it. And I need you to write down everything that happened at her trial. The jury's first verdict, the judge's intervention, the reversal. Every detail. They write through the night. Alden takes the document and moves on. The Burroughs widow tells him about the old conflict with the Putnam family. Her husband tried to collect his salary for years. They withheld it over petty disputes about firewood. When he left for Maine, Thomas Putnam swore he would regret it. Years later, when the accusations began, guess whose name came up? Alden documents it all. The pattern emerges clearly. Political enemies, land disputes, old grudges. The trials are not about witchcraft. They are about settling scores under cover of divine authority. He visits families across Essex County. In every case, he asks the same questions. Who testified against your loved one? What was their relationship? Was there a property dispute? A family conflict? A business dealing gone wrong? In every case, the same patterns appear. Putnam faction families, naming Porter faction targets, accusers with financial motives, witnesses with grudges. He also documents the spectral evidence absurdity. One woman was accused of attending a Sabbath in Salem on a night when 20 people could swear she was in Boston. The court dismissed the alibis. Her specter could travel while her body stayed home. Another man was accused by a girl who claimed his specter tormented her at midnight. The man was a ship captain. His entire crew testified he was at sea. Again, the court was unimpressed. Specters apparently can cross water. Alden compiles it all. Testimony, petitions, trial records, a pattern of corruption so obvious that only willful blindness could miss it. While he works in hiding, events in the Boston move forward. Increased Mather completes his manuscript. Cases of conscience concerning evil spirits. It is a careful scholarly work. It argues from scripture and precedent that the devil can appear in the shape of innocent people. Therefore, spectral evidence is unreliable. Therefore, no one should be convicted on such testimony alone. Mather circulates it among Boston ministers. 14 sign their approval. Not all. Cotton Mather notably refuses. But 14 of the colony's leading divines have gone on record questioning the trials. It is not enough to stop the executions. But it is enough to create doubt. Alden contacts his merchant friends. They help him draft a petition from Boston's business community to Governor Phipps. The language is careful. They do not accuse the court of wrongdoing. They express concern about the economic impact. Trials disrupt trade. Property seizures create uncertainty. Fear hurts business. Phipps is a former merchant himself. He understands arguments framed in economic terms. The petition lands on his desk the same week as Mather's manuscript. Pressure builds from multiple directions. The intellectuals question the theology. The merchants question the economics. The families of the executed question the justice. And then the accusers make their fatal mistake. October arrives with rain and falling leaves. The court of Oye and Termunner has been in session for 4 months. 20 people are dead. Dozens more await trial. The accused now include people from Boston, from Andover, from Gloucester. The net has spread far beyond Salem Village. And then the girls cry out against Mary Phipps, the governor's wife, the First Lady of Massachusetts. Her specter, they claim, has tormented them. She must be arrested. She must be examined. The accusation creates an impossible situation. If Phipps arrests his own wife, he admits the trials have legitimacy. But if he refuses, he admits that spectral evidence is selective, that some specters are reliable while others are not, that the whole foundation of the trials is arbitrary. The news reaches Alden in Duxbury. He sees the opening immediately. This is the moment. The system has finally overreached. He also learns that the Reverend John Hale's wife has been accused. Hale supported the trials from the beginning. He testified for the prosecution. He urged confessions. Now his own wife stands in the dock. When powerful men's families are targeted, powerful men reconsider their positions. Alden makes a decision. He will return, not to jail, to the new court. On October 29th, Governor Phipps signs an order. The court of Oye and Terminer is dissolved. No more trials under its procedures. No more executions on spectral evidence. Chief Justice Stoughton resigns in fury. He believes they were on the verge of crushing Satan's conspiracy. The governor's interference is, in his view, proof that the devil has infiltrated the highest levels of government. But Stoughton's fury does not matter. The court is closed. The executions stop. 52 people still sit in jail, but the killing has ended. Phipps creates a new tribunal, the Superior Court of Judicature. It will retry the accused under proper procedures. Spectral evidence will not be admitted. The standard will be English common law. 2 witnesses to overt acts. Physical evidence. Reasonable doubt. Under these rules, almost none of the accused can be convicted. Alden receives word through his network. The new court is accepting surrender from escaped prisoners. They will be tried under the new procedures. Given the change in evidentiary standards, most will be acquitted. He considers his options. He could remain in hiding, live as a fugitive, wait for memories to fade and accusations to lose their sting. It might work, it might not. Or he can return. Face trial, force the system to prove its accusations under rules that require actual evidence. The second option is dangerous. Even under better rules, courts can make mistakes. Juries can be swayed, verdicts can go wrong. He could hang anyway. But if he runs, the accusations stand unchallenged. If he fights and wins, he sets a precedent that could save others. He rides back to Boston in November. He surrenders himself to the new court. He demands immediate trial. The trial of Captain John Alden begins on January 5, 1693. The courtroom is packed. This is the first major trial under the new procedures. Everyone wants to see how it will unfold. Will the new court vindicate the skeptics, or will it find new ways to convict the accused? The prosecution brings the afflicted girls. They are older now. The months of performing have aged them. Some seem uncertain without the supportive crowd that filled the Salem meeting house. Without Hathorne's leading questions and encouragement, their fits seem less convincing. The girls testify that Alden Spector attended Sabbaths, that they saw him in the company of the devil, that his invisible form tormented them while his body was elsewhere. The defense attorney objects. Under the new rules, spectral evidence is not admissible. If these girls saw something, it was either a dream or a delusion. Either way, it proves nothing about Captain Alden's actions. The judge sustains the objection. The girls' testimony about specters is stricken. What remains? The prosecution scrambles. They have built their entire case on spectral testimony. Without it, they have nothing. They call character witnesses, people who will testify that Alden was skeptical of the trials, that he spoke against them, that he questioned authority.
You are the one who did this.
The defense welcomes
I
this
have
testimony.
done nothing wrong.
Yes, Captain Alden opposed
Lies!
the
You are
trials
guilty!
because the
Prove
trials
it.
were unjust. Opposing injustice is not evidence of guilt. It is evidence of conscience. The defense then calls its own witnesses, ship captains who can testify to Alden's whereabouts on the dates when the girls claimed his specter attended Sabbaths. He was at sea. He has
The
ship's
framework
logs,
is unsound.
multiple
It
witnesses,
will collapse.
physical evidence.
Nonsense. The
How did his
calculations are
specter
precise.
attend a Sabbath
Precision
in
is
Salem
not
while
enough.
his body
It will
was on a ship
hold.
30 miles offshore?
We
The
demand
prosecution
justice.
argues that
Release
specters
us.
can travel
Your
anywhere.
case is under
The judge
review.
responds
Be
that
silent.
we are not trying the specter. We are trying the
This
man.
passage confirms
the man's
it.
body
The
was
alignment
at sea.
is tonight.
That is alibi.
Then we have no
the
choice.
trial continues
We
for
must
3
act.
days.
I will
The
summon the
prosecution
others.
brings every argument they can muster. The defense dismantles each one. Without spectral evidence, there is no case. Just accusations from girls
Honourable
who have
members,
learned
the time
that
for
power
action
comes
is
from
now.
pointing fingers.
We must unite and
On the
pass
third
this
day, the jury
legislation
deliberates for
for
30
the
minutes.
future of our
They
nation.
return with a verdict. Not
Watch
guilty.
how I
The
form
courtroom
letters,
erupts.
child.
Some cheer.
Yes, I see.
Others sit in stunned
Now
silence.
you try.
Captain
Like
John
this.
Alden, accused wizard, walks free. As he leaves the courthouse, Alden stops to address the crowd. His voice carries across the square. This verdict proves something important. It proves that our English liberties can withstand even satanic panic. It proves that when courts require evidence instead of visions, justice can prevail. It proves that we nearly destroyed ourselves hunting invisible enemies while real threats gathered at our borders. Let this be a lesson. The law must be based on facts you can see, touch, and measure. Not on the claims of frightened children, not on spectral visions, not on the convenience of those who wish to settle old scores. We are building a new society in this wilderness. Let us build it on reason and evidence, not fear and superstition. He walks away. Behind him, the whispers begin. Some call him brave, some still call him dangerous, but none can call him guilty. The precedent is set. In the following months, the Superior Court of Judicature hears dozens of cases. Grand juries refuse to indict most of them. When trials do occur, juries acquit. By May of 1693, all remaining prisoners have been released or pardoned. The Salem witch trials are over. The killing has stopped. The machine has ground to a halt, but the damage remains. Spring comes to Massachusetts in 1693 with the tentative warmth of a season unsure of its welcome. The ice breaks on the Charles River. Birds return from southern migrations. Farmers prepare fields for planting. On the surface, life resumes its ordinary rhythms. Underneath, the colony bleeds. 20 people dead, dozens more imprisoned for months. Families bankrupted, communities divided, and everywhere the question that no one wants to ask. How did we let this happen? Alden does not wait for others to ask. He begins immediately. The jail fees are his first target. Under Massachusetts law, prisoners must pay for their own imprisonment. Food, bedding, heat, everything has a price. Before the jailer will release someone, all debts must be cleared. Many families cannot pay. They sold everything to survive while their mother or father or sister sat in chains. Now they are told that freedom requires money they do not have. Some prisoners legally cleared of all charges remain in jail because they cannot afford to leave. Alden visits his banker. He establishes a fund. Any prisoner freed by the courts but held for debt can apply. He will pay their fees, no conditions, no repayment required. Arnold the jailer dislikes this arrangement. He has grown comfortable with his income stream. But he is a businessman above all. He takes Alden's money and releases the prisoners. Sarah Dustin is not among them. She died in jail in March, unable to pay her fees even as the courts were preparing to release her. She is not counted among the 20 executed. But she is just as dead. Alden pays for her burial. A proper burial, not the unmarked hole where they threw Bridget Bishop's body. He commissions a stone. Sarah Dustin, accused of witchcraft, died in chains. Innocent. Other families come to him, not for money, for help with something harder. They want their loved ones' names cleared, not just legally. Officially, they want the colony to admit these people were innocent, that the trials were wrong, that the executions were murder. This is more complicated than paying jail fees. This requires the government to acknowledge its own failure. Governments do not do this easily. Alden begins organizing. He meets with families in Boston. They form a committee. They draft petitions. They gather documentation, trial records, testimonies, the petitions that were ignored, the alibis that were dismissed. They build a case that the Salem trials were not justice but corruption. The work takes years. Different families have different priorities. Some want monetary compensation. Some want only the acknowledgement. Some are too broken to participate at all. Alden keeps pushing. He uses his status as a war hero, his connections to merchants and magistrates, his friendship with Increase Mather, every tool he has. In 1697, 5 years after the executions, Massachusetts declares a day of fasting and prayer, a day to mourn what happened, to ask forgiveness. It is not an admission of guilt. Not quite. The language is carefully worded. We ask God to forgive any errors that may have been made, any innocent blood that may have been shed, as if the errors were accidental, as if 19 hangings and 1 pressing were somehow uncertain in their innocence. But it is something. It is acknowledgement. On that day in Boston's South Church, Judge Samuel Sewell stands before the congregation. He is the only judge from the court of Oyez and Terminer to do this. The others maintain their righteousness or have died. Sewell alone seeks public forgiveness. His minister reads a statement. Sewell stands with his head bowed as the words wash over the crowded church. Samuel Sewell desires to take the blame and shame of the proceedings at Salem. He asks pardon of men, and especially God, for any errors in judgment. He prays that God will not visit the sin of his servant upon the colony or upon his family. It is not a full confession. He does not say the trials were corrupt. He does not say spectral evidence was lies. He says errors in judgment, as if he made a few mistakes in arithmetic rather than sending innocent people to their deaths. But he says it publicly, in church, with witnesses, and for the rest of his life, he will repeat it. Every year on the anniversary of the trials, Sewell fasts privately and prays for forgiveness. The guilt haunts him to his grave. Alden attends the service. He listens to Sewell's statement. Afterward, they speak briefly outside. Judge Sewell, I accept your apology. I hope God does the same. Thank you, Captain. I know it does not restore what was lost, but I hope it is a beginning. It is a beginning, but it is not enough. William Stoughton never apologizes. Cotton Mather never fully accepts responsibility. Most of the accusers never acknowledge their role. The exceptions are few. Ann Putnam stands among them. In 1706, 14 years after the trials, Ann Putnam Jr. stands before Salem Village Church. She is 26 years old now, unmarried, caring for her younger siblings. The girl who once held terrifying power now lives a quiet, restricted life. She has written a confession. The minister reads it aloud while she stands with head bowed. I desire to be humbled before God. I was made an instrument for the accusing of several persons of a grievous crime, whereby their lives were taken away from them. What was said or done by me against any person I now testify was done in the darkness of Satan and his agents. I desire to lie in the dust and earnestly beg forgiveness of all those unto whom I have given just cause of sorrow and offense. She names specific victims, Rebecca Nurse. Others, she accepts her role. She was deceived by Satan, yes, but she was also the instrument. Her voice, her accusations, her fits, these things killed people. Alden attends this confession too. He watches the young woman who once helped condemn him stand and accept her guilt. It is more than most have done. It is genuine. After the service, he speaks to her briefly. Mistress Putnam, I heard your confession. I believe it was sincerely meant. She looks up. Her eyes are hollowed by years of guilt. Captain Alden, I do not deserve your forgiveness. Perhaps not, but I give it anyway. Not because you have earned it, but because carrying hatred for 14 years has accomplished nothing but my own bitterness. You were a child. Adults used you. You participated, yes. But the greater guilt lies with those who should have known better. I see their faces every night. Rebecca Nurse, the others. I will see them until I die. Then use that. Use that guilt to ensure it never happens again. Teach your children. Tell them what fear and power did to you. Make something useful from your shame. She nods. She cannot speak. The tears are too thick. Alden walks away. Behind him, Anne Putnam returns to her small life. She will never marry, never escape Salem Village. She will die at 35, worn out by guilt and the care of siblings. But she spoke the truth. She named her sin. That is more than most. While individual apologies trickle in, Alden focuses on institutional change. He is elected to the Massachusetts General Court in 1697. At 71, he becomes a legislator. He uses the position to push for reforms. His first target is spectral evidence. It must be formally banned, not just in practice, in law, written down so no future court can resurrect it. The bill passes in 1697. Spectral evidence is explicitly forbidden in all Massachusetts courts. Seeing someone in a vision or dream cannot be used to accuse them of a crime. Physical evidence and eyewitness testimony to actual acts are required. Next comes the right to counsel. At Salem, the accused had no lawyers. They stood alone before hostile magistrates and performing girls. This must change. In 1700, the General Court passes a law. Anyone accused of a capital crime has the right to legal representation. The court must provide a lawyer if the accused cannot afford one. It is a small thing, a procedural change, but it shifts the balance. An accused witch with a lawyer might ask inconvenient questions, might demand actual evidence, might make conviction harder. In 1702, Alden pushes through one more reform. The burden of proof in capital cases is raised. 2 witnesses to overt acts are required, or physical evidence so overwhelming that reasonable doubt is impossible. Anything less, and the accused walks free. Better 10 guilty escape than 1 innocent die. Alden makes this argument on the floor of the General Court. It is not original to him. It comes from English common law, from Blackstone, from the principle that liberty is precious and must be guarded carefully. But in Massachusetts in 1702, with the memory of Salem still raw, the argument has special weight. They know what happens when courts presume guilt. They have seen the gallows. The bill passes. The reforms are complete. They will not prevent all injustice. Courts can still make errors. Juries can still convict the innocent. But the structural problems that enabled Salem have been addressed. These reforms will spread. Other colonies will adopt them. Decades later, when the Founding Fathers write the Constitution, they will draw on these principles. The Fourth Amendment's protection against unreasonable search. The Fifth Amendment's protection against self-incrimination. The Sixth Amendment's right to counsel and to confront witnesses. All of these have roots in Salem's soil, growing from blood. But laws are not enough. Alden knows this. The law says no more spectral evidence. Fine. But what about the next crisis, the next panic? When fear rises, law bends. He has seen it happen. The real work is not legal. It is educational. The next generation must learn from Salem, must understand what happened and why, must inoculate themselves against the same poison. Alden begins writing in 1702. He is 76 years old. His hands shake with age, but his mind is clear and his memory is sharp. He writes a manuscript, Tyranny Cloaked in Righteousness, Lessons from Salem for Freemen. It is not a legal treatise. It is a warning, a testament, a teaching document. He describes what he witnessed, the examinations, the fits, the way spectral evidence transformed invisible dreams into physical death sentences, the way courts abandoned principle in favor of expedience. The way good people convinced themselves they were doing God's work while destroying their neighbors. He analyzes the political dimensions, the Putnam-Porter feud that turned witch trials into weapons, the war trauma that created a population primed for panic, the religious extremism that saw Satan in every shadow. He draws lessons, not abstract philosophy, concrete principles that might prevent future Salems. Trust evidence you can verify, not visions, not dreams, not the invisible testimony of frightened children. Question authority that demands you abandon reason. Any system that punishes skepticism is corrupt. Protect the rights of the accused even when you hate them, especially when you hate them. Justice for the popular is easy. Justice for the despised is the real test. Remember that fear makes people stupid. When crisis comes, double-check everything. Assume you are thinking poorly. Demand more evidence, not less. He writes for 6 years. The manuscript grows. He revises. He adds examples. He tries to make it clear enough that even those who did not live through Salem can understand. In 1708, he finishes. He is 82 years old. The manuscript is his legacy. One day in late summer, his grandson visits. John Alden III, 10 years old, bright-eyed, curious. The boy finds his grandfather in the study surrounded by papers. "Grandfather, what are you writing?" Alden looks up. He sees not just the boy, but the future. This child will live into the 1760s, maybe longer. He will see things Alden cannot imagine. He will face choices Alden cannot predict. What I am writing is a warning, John, and a hope, a warning about what? About what happens when good people let fear override their judgment. About what happens when communities turn on themselves. About what happens when courts abandon the law in favor of expedience. The boy sits down. He is too young to fully understand, but he senses the gravity. "Tell me," Alden tells him. Not everything. The boy is 10, but he tells him enough. He tells him about the trials, about the accusations, about standing in that cell and wondering if he would hang, about Giles Corey under the stones, about Rebecca Nurse on the scaffold. The boy listens with wide eyes. "Were you afraid, grandfather?" Terrified. "But you stood up anyway." "I did. Because being afraid of tyrants is natural. Being afraid of what happens when good men do nothing is worse." Alden pulls the boy closer. He wants him to remember this, needs him to remember. "John, listen to me. You will live in a different world than I did. Things will change. But some truths do not change. Power corrupts. Fear makes people cruel. Mobs destroy what they should protect. And the only defense is men and women brave enough to stand and say no. Even when everyone else is saying yes. How do I know when to stand? You will know. You will feel it in your gut. The moment when what is happening was wrong and everyone is pretending it is right. That is your moment. That is when you choose. And whatever you choose, you will live with forever. The boy nods slowly. He does not fully grasp it yet, but the seed is planted. Years later, when he has grown, he will remember this conversation. He will teach his own children. The lesson will pass down. Alden lives 10 more years. He sees the manuscript published in 1712. It circulates among educated colonists. Some dismiss it. The trials are old news, ancient history. Why dwell on past mistakes? But some read it carefully. Some copy passages. Some discuss it in philosophical societies and taverns. The idea spread. In the 1770s, John Adams reads Alden's manuscript while preparing to defend British soldiers accused in the Boston Massacre. The principles resonate. Better 10 guilty escape than one innocent suffer. Trust evidence over emotion. Protect the rights of the accused, especially when they are hated. Adams uses these arguments in court. The soldiers are acquitted. The verdict is unpopular. Adams is attacked for defending the enemy, but he stands on principle. He cites Alden by name in his notes. That manuscript, written by an old sea captain who survived a witch trial, shapes the thinking of men who will write the Constitution. Alden dies in 1718. He is 92 years old. He has outlived most of his generation. He has seen the trials, survived them, helped end them, pushed for reforms, written warnings for the future. His funeral is attended by hundreds, merchants and magistrates, ministers and common folk. people who remember the trials and people too young to have witnessed them. They come to honor a man who stood when standing was dangerous. The eulogies speak of his war service, his business acumen, his civic leadership, but the core of every speech is the same. Captain Alden stood for English liberties when liberties were under assault. He demanded evidence when emotion ruled. He survived to teach the lessons that might save others. They bury him in Duxbury. His headstone is simple. John Alden Jr., 1626 to 1718. Defender of liberty, witness to truth. His will establishes a fund for a permanent memorial in Salem, not to him, to the victims. £25 set aside to maintain a memorial that will list every name, every victim, every person who died because fear and spectral evidence and corrupt courts combined. The first memorial is small, a plaque on the meeting house wall, but it is there. The names are there. Bridget Bishop, Rebecca Nurse, George Burroughs, Giles Corey, Sarah Good, 19 who hanged, Corey who was pressed, Sarah Dustin who died in jail, others whose names were nearly forgotten. The memorial says these persons died innocent. Remember them. Remember what killed them. Remember that it could happen again. Years pass, decades. The survivors die off. New generations are born who never knew the fear. Salem Village changes its name to Danvers, trying to escape the association. The meeting house where the examinations occurred burns down. The jail where Alden was held is demolished. But the memories persist. The documents survive. The trial records, the petitions, the confessions, Alden's manuscript, all of it is preserved. In 1750, John Alden III is 52 years old. He visits his own grandson, John Alden IV, 10 years old, the same age John III was when his grandfather told him about the trials. The cycle repeats. The old man teaches the young boy. He tells the stories that were told to him. He passes down the manuscript. He explains the lessons. Listen, John, your great-great-grandfather stood in a courtroom and demanded evidence. He refused to confess to lies. He escaped from jail and built a case against the system. He came back and faced trial and won. He spent the rest of his life making sure it could not happen again. Why are you telling me this? Because you are his legacy. You carry his name, and someday you will face your own test. Maybe not witches, maybe something else, but the test will come. The moment when you must choose between safety and principle, between going along and standing apart. What should I choose? John Alden III smiles. He sounds just like his grandfather. You will know when the moment comes. Trust evidence. Trust reason. Trust the liberties your ancestors fought to preserve. And when the crowd is screaming for blood, be the one who demands proof. The boy nods. Another seed planted, another generation taught. In 1775, John Alden IV is 35 years old. The revolution is beginning. He joins the Continental Army. He fights at Bunker Hill. He survives Valley Forge. And when officers discuss what kind of government they will build after independence, he speaks up. We need protections, written protections, so no government can do to us what England did, so no colony can do what Massachusetts did at Salem. What protections? The right to counsel, the right to confront witnesses, protection against unreasonable search, the requirement of real evidence for conviction. All the things my great-great-grandfather fought for, all the things that were missing at Salem. These ideas circulate, they merge with others. Enlightenment philosophy, English common law, the experience of multiple colonies. But Salem is part of the mix, the negative example, the warning of what happens when fear overrides law. In 1791, the Bill of Rights is ratified. 10 amendments to the Constitution, protections of liberty, limits on government power. The Fourth Amendment protects against unreasonable search and seizure. At Salem, homes were searched for poppets in witch marks without warrants or probable cause. The Fifth Amendment protects against self-incrimination. At Salem, confessions were extracted through pressure and promises of leniency if you named others. The Sixth Amendment guarantees the right to counsel and to confront witnesses. At Salem, the accused stood alone before hostile magistrates while girls testified about invisible specters. The 14th Amendment, added later, requires due process. At Salem, judges overrode jury verdicts and accepted evidence that violated every principle of English law. Salem does not cause these amendments. The founders draw on many sources, but Salem is there, in the background. The cautionary tale, the proof that even godly people in Christian communities can descend into tyranny if the structures of liberty are weak. The lessons spread through American culture, in courtrooms, in schools, in political debates. When someone argues for lowering standards of evidence, someone else invokes Salem. When someone suggests that accusations should be believed without proof, someone else points to spectral evidence. The trials become shorthand for what happens when fear and power combine. New memorials appear. In 1867, Salem erects a larger monument. In 1992, 300 years after the trials, a major memorial opens. 20 stone benches in a small park. Each bench bears the name of a victim. Visitors can sit, can read, can remember. The inscription at the entrance quotes Samuel Sewall's apology and John Alden's statement after his acquittal, and Mary Eastie's petition, and Rebecca Nurse's grandson. Voices from the past speaking to the present. Another inscription lists the core lessons. Demand evidence. Protect the accused. Question authority. Remember that fear is a weapon tyrants use. Tourists visit by the thousands every year. School groups, historians, people interested in the supernatural or the historical or the legal dimensions. They see the names, they read the stories, they ask how it happened. The answers are complex. Political conflict, war trauma, religious extremism, adolescent psychology, corrupt judges, weak legal structures. All of these played roles. But underneath it all, the simplest answer: fear. Fear of the invisible enemy, fear of the other, fear that refusing to act would prove you were part of the problem, fear that made ordinary people abandon reason and law and decency. And the counter lesson: courage. The courage to demand evidence, the courage to stand alone, the courage to say no when everyone else says yes. John Alden showed that courage. So did Giles Corey. So did Mary Eastie. So did the 40 people who signed Rebecca Nurse's petition knowing it might make them targets. So did Increase Mather when he questioned spectral evidence. So did the jurors who initially acquitted Nurse. Most of these people failed. The system crushed them. But they tried. And their trying created cracks in the system. Small fractures that eventually brought the whole corrupt structure down. That is the legacy. Not that good people always win, but that good people fighting can eventually create conditions where winning is possible. The trials ended in October 1692 when Governor Phipps closed the courts. They ended because too many powerful people's families were targeted, because Increase Mather provided intellectual cover for doubt, because the economic damage became impossible to ignore, because John Alden and others documented the corruption and forced it into public view. They ended because courage and evidence and persistence finally outweighed fear and corruption and momentum. The 20 who died did not live to see it, but their deaths were not meaningless. Their suffering brought the lesson that future generations would learn. Do not trust invisible evidence. Do not abandon law in crisis. Do not let fear override reason. Do not give children the power to destroy adults. Do not allow courts to presume guilt. Do not accept that the ends justify the means. These lessons, written in blood on a hill above Salem, became part of the American experiment, part of the foundation, part of the warning system that activates whenever liberty is threatened. In 2001, more than 3 centuries after the executions, Massachusetts formally exonerated the last 5 victims, the ones whose names had not been included in earlier pardons, the ones who were nearly forgotten. 309 years too late, but done. The Commonwealth officially admitted the trials were wrong, the convictions were false, the hangings were murder, the announcement was quiet, a few newspaper articles, a small ceremony in Salem. But it mattered. It closed the loop. Every victim officially recognized as innocent. Every name cleared. Standing in that ceremony was a descendant of John Alden, and a descendant of Rebecca Nurse, and descendants of other victims. They shook hands. They spoke of forgiveness and memory, and the importance of learning from the past. One of them quoted the end of John Alden's manuscript, the words he wrote in 1708 for his grandson, and all the grandchildren who would come after. We nearly lost our republic before we built it. We nearly destroyed ourselves hunting invisible enemies while real dangers gathered at our borders. We learned, but the learning cost 23 lives and countless ruined families. Remember Salem. Remember what fear can do. Remember that the price of liberty is eternal vigilance. And remember those who stood, those who demanded evidence when emotion ruled, those who chose truth over safety. They paid in suffering, but they bought us wisdom. Honor them by using it. The ceremony ends. The descendants place flowers on the memorial benches. Tourists take pictures. Life goes on. But the lesson remains, carved in stone, written in law, passed down through generations. Salem happened. It was real. It was terrible. And it taught us something we must never forget. When fear tells you to abandon your principles, that is precisely when you must hold them tightest. When the crowd demands blood, that is when you must demand evidence. When power offers easy answers through scapegoats, that is when you must ask hard questions. This is the legacy of Salem. This is what John Alden fought for. This is what Giles Corey died for. This is what Rebecca Nurse's silence bought. Not perfection, not immunity from future failures, but awareness, structure, law, the tools to resist the next panic, the wisdom to recognize tyranny even when it wears the mask of righteousness. The story ends where it began, a courtroom, a man standing accused of impossible crimes. But this time the ending is different. This time the man demands evidence. This time the court is forced to provide it. This time reason defeats fear. This time justice prevails. Not because justice is inevitable, but because someone stood and demanded it, because someone refused to confess to lies, because someone built the case and fought the system and survived to teach the lesson. That is the true trial, not the trial of accused witches, but the trial of truth itself, the test of whether a society can hold to its principles when fear and anger demand abandonment, the test of whether law can survive crisis, the test of whether courage can outlast corruption. Salem was that test. Salem failed it. 23 people died. But from that failure came wisdom. From that darkness came light. From that injustice came the structures of justice that still protect us today. That is the legacy. Remember it. Teach it. Use it. When your own test comes, and it will come, remember Salem. Remember Captain John Alden standing in chains and demanding evidence. Remember Giles Corey under the stone saying more weight. Remember Rebecca Nurse maintaining her innocence to the last. And choose to be like them. Choose truth over fear. Choose evidence over emotion. Choose principle over expediency. That choice is the price of liberty. It is the duty of citizens in a free society. It is the lesson written in blood 300 years ago on a hill above Salem. We remember. We learn. We endure. This is the American promise. Not that we never fail, but that we learn from failure. Not that we never fear, but that we master fear. Not that justice always prevails, but that justice can prevail when enough people demand it. The trial of truth continues every day, in courtrooms and legislatures and public squares, in moments when we choose between what is easy and what is right, between what is popular and what is just, between safety and principle. Choose well. The dead of Salem are watching. The future is waiting. And the truth, as always, demands its trial.